Welcome. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about how to evaluate quadratics, with the focus being how to use our TI-83s and TI-84s to quickly compute these values. So the biggest thing to remember when you're evaluating quadratics with a calculator, or evaluating anything for that matter, when you're putting that number in for the variable, you need to make sure you're surrounding that number with a parenthesis. What I mean by that is, when we have x equals 2 here, what that means is for every x in that quadratic, I'm substituting 2 in. But whenever I do so, I need to put that 2 in parentheses and nothing else. So when you type it into the calculator, that is what you should see. Putting parentheses around that 2 that you're putting in and only having that 2 in the parentheses. So what does this look like on a calculator? Well, parenthesis 2 squared minus 2 times 2 plus 3. And if you type it in just like that, exactly as I'm showing here, the calculator will pop out the right answer and you will get 3. So the answer to this, when you put 2 into that function, you're getting 3 as an answer. Well, let's see what happens when you put a -1 in. And again, when you do that, -1 goes in the parenthesis and only the -1. So you rewrite everything exactly as is, except now you're putting a -1 inside that parenthesis. So let's see what this one looks like. So parenthesis, -1 squared minus 2 times -1 plus 3. If you type it in exactly as is, you should get 6. So the answer, when I take that function and I put a -1 in it, I'm getting out 6 as my answer. Now, sometimes it'll get more complicated. Sometimes you'll have some stuff in front of that x squared. And again, it's the very same thing. So here I'm plugging in a 1. So wherever I see x, I'm putting a 1. But I'm putting that 1 and only that 1 inside a parenthesis to make sure my calculator is doing it properly. So let's type that one in to make sure that we're doing it right. So this time that 2 goes outside, any coefficient goes outside my parenthesis. The only thing inside my parenthesis is what number I'm plugging in, then plus 1 minus 5. Oh, I apologize. My calculator did something weird there. Plus 1, then minus 5. So if you type it in just like that, hit enter, and it'll give you the answer. So for this one, when we're plugging in 1, we're getting -2 as our answer. Now let's see what happens when I plug in -3. Again, that coefficient, that 2 stays outside. Only the -3 is inside my parenthesis. Plus -3 minus 5. Let's plug that in and see what we get. So 2 times this time -3. Oh, -3 squared plus -3 minus 5. Tap that in as is, and you will get 10 as your answer. So when I plug in -3, I'm getting 10. So last one on this sheet. Now, a negative in the equation is the same type of deal. This goes outside my parenthesis because it's not part of the number I'm evaluating. So again, just to show you all the little tricks of the trade. So if that negative is part of the equation, it is on the outside of that parenthesis because I'm only plugging in a 4. Only that specific number that you're plugging in goes inside your parenthesis. So that is what you should be typing into the calculator. And when you do so, let's take a look at what that looks like. So a negative outside my parenthesis, then 4 squared plus 3, then I'm putting in that 4 again, plus 2, and that's going to give me a -2. So for this one, when I plug in a 4, I'm getting a -2 for my answer. Now here I'm putting a -2 into the parenthesis. So that negative from the equation is still there. I'm plugging in a -2. And so again, the -2 is the only thing that goes into that parenthesis. And one last time, let's take a look at what this looks like. So I have negative, and now -2 squared plus 3 times -2 plus 2. Again, making sure we're only putting in that -2 into our parenthesis. When we do, we get -8 as our answer. So I go back and I say, when I'm plugging a -2 to my function, I'm getting -8 for my answer. So, thank you for joining me for this video. If you have any questions, please let me know.